Hey everybody, this is Wes. When me and Joey talk about Leia's home planet of Alderaan, we mistakenly call it Endor multiple times. We do apologize and hope you guys enjoy our episode. Hey, this is Wes.
And this is Joe with the World of Wes and Joe.
Welcome to our world.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back for our second podcast.
Yep, it's not our very first this time.
No, it's not our very first.
Anyway.
So today we're going to be talking about just a little bit about Star Wars and mainly about
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader.
Or Anakin.
Anakin Skywalker, yeah, one of my favorite characters in Star Wars.
I understand why. He's a badass.
Basically, we're just going to be talking about Anakin Skywalker, basically his life and coming into to be Darth Vader and why he became that way, pretty much, and whether or not if he's a
villain or maybe an anti-hero
or just the hero of the whole saga, basically. Well, episodes 1 through 6.
Yeah, he's kind of takes the backseat in the 7th one, right?
Yeah. So Anakin Skywalker he's a very complex character with a lot of rich history. He makes lots of the decisions throughout the series. Some are good, some are bad. Some come with some consequences. We just kind of want to dive into this character and some of his actions that made him come to the decision on whether he is a villain or the anti-hero of the show. So Wes, since we're going to be talking about Darth Vader, what was your first memory of Darth Vader when you first started watching Star Wars?
Well, I remember when I first started watching Star Wars, I was like 7 or 8 years old, and to me, it was a very black and white film. You know, Darth Vader, he's the bad guy. Luke Skywalker's the good guy. But as time has gone on, I after watching the second and third movie recently, I'm just not sure if I feel that way anymore. What about you?
I was probably about the same age, actually, when my dad actually rented the VHS versions, probably from Hollywood Video or Blockbuster back in the day, and we recorded them through VHS onto another VHS, and I kept them that way.
Goddamn thieves.
Early day of piracy.
That's right, before it was cool.
So, and I've always been a Star Wars fan, and I always remember as a kid, just especially in A New Hope, when Vader walked through that corridor out of the darkness with all the stormtroopers in front of him, and started choking that guy out. I always thought he was just a pretty powerful character and really instilled fear into people.
All right, so I guess we should get into the discussion.
So basically, we're just going to start going over things to talk to the audience about Vader, people that might think that Vader's a villain. So quickly, we go over episode 1. He really didn't display anything that made him seem like a villain. He was actually more the hero, really, in that movie, because when he blew up that big space station.
I'd say more than anything, comic relief in that movie.
Yeah, it was bad casting for that little boy.
Oh, yeah.
Episode 2, he really didn't display all too much, just a lot of anger issues. He was whining a lot. I know he killed all the sand people. Which
is debatable whether it's all bad. I mean, from certain people's perspective. But we'll go into that a little bit later. Episode 3, definitely you could say that he could be the villain, turned into a villain in that one, killing all those children, trying to kill the Jedi Order, his mentor, Obi-Wan, things like that. Yeah, and then force choking Padme.
Padme, yep. And then episode 4, New Hope.
Well, obviously you got
now he's Vader, which everyone thinks he's the big bad guy in destroying a planet. And then in episode 5, the only thing he really does bad, quote unquote, would be that he puts Han in kryptonite, which is carbonite, which is debatable. And he cuts his son's hand off in the heat of combat. Yeah. Episode 6, he didn't really I guess you could say it was a villain. He was trying to convert him into becoming a Luke into coming into the dark side. Which, if you really think the dark side is really evil, then you would think Vader is being evil. Yeah, and then we'll discuss his final act at the end of the podcast, and then we will give the verdict on whether he is a villain or anti-hero. Yeah. So let's start with the second movie. Where Anakin killed his
kill all those sand people on Tatooine.
Yes, and the reason why he went to Tatooine was because he kept having visions of his mother basically dying. Mm. So he and Padme go to Tatooine to check up on her, basically.
Yeah.
And he finds out that his mother's been kidnapped about, a month prior or something to that?
I think so. I can't remember exactly.
Yeah. And when he goes to basically find her, he finds that she's been strapped up and is
basically
dying.
Yeah, she's basically dead when he finds her. And he does, out of pure anger and rage, slaughters the entire village.
Yes.
The women and the children of the Sand People. But in his defense,
let's go into the defense. Is this a villainous act? Is it an anti-hero act?
I we could fall more to category of anti-hero. I wouldn't call him a straight villain because he was really close to his mom. I think if anybody's really close to their mom and someone murdered your mother, I think at that very moment, if the person that killed your mother is in the same room as you, you're probably gonna try to kill that person.
You'll probably kill him.
Even the goodest people, like if you think about Tony Stark and the Winter Soldier, you know, when he found out the Winter Soldier killed his parents, especially his mom, he was willing to even kill Captain America to get at the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, totally understandable.
So I would never label that as a villainous act, in my opinion.
True, and I think we also have to look at who are the Sand People. They are not good Samaritans.
No.
They are like pirates. They rape and pillage and kill.
They're the Tusken Raiders, basically, is what they call them,
Yep. So I think on this one, you might have to give him a pass because, true, he killed women and children, but this is a warfaring people. All of those Sand People would have grown up and probably done the same atrocities.
Yeah, and those women Sand People would have had more babies.
Yeah. And let's just say this. There were women there. Why did the women not stop the men from doing what they did to Anakin's mother?
Oppression,
yeah. Sure. No. No. I think it was a tragedy that the children died and the women died, but I'm going to label this one
an anti-hero.
An anti-hero.
Yep,
for sure. Definitely.
No. And then we're on episode 3.
Other than that, he didn't really do much else in episode 2, did he? That would be
just more whining. Just more whining.
Not the best actor to play.
That's true. I think
Darth Vader.
That it was a bad choice to cast him to play Anakin, but it's already done. The movies are really old by now, so
yeah. True.
But he just did a lot of whining. In that episode.
So let's move on to episode 3. And this is going to be probably where the majority of our discussion lies because this is the most villainous things he's done, if you're going to call him that.
I think it all starts off at the very beginning when he chops off Dooku's head.
Which, did you believe that there was a struggle on him cutting that head off? Or do you think it was just bad acting?
I think the acting played into it. It made it look like there was a struggle, but there was a long pause and some eye contact and more pausing. And then the Emperor saying, do it. And then he chops off his head.
Now, I'm going to say, to research this episode, I watched it I watched episode 3 2 nights ago. And by the time before he cut off Count Dooku's head, I was saying, damn it, just cut my head off already. That is how much I cut my head off. It's done.
It just plays in the line of just, he's just not a very good actor. There's probably a reason he hasn't done much movies since then.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
Yeah, and just like the little boy they casted to play him in the first movie, I think he did Jingle All the Way, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So, but
this isn't.
But there was
review.
A struggle.
Yes.
There was a struggle before it, but I think he kind of like weighed his options, whether or not how much damage Dooku had done to the Republic, and how much a problem he was for the galaxy, basically. Yeah. And I think that he just took that matter in his own hands, and also being pressured by not Emperor, by Emperor Palpatine, but it wasn't Palpatine; it was
Darth Sidious, right?
Well, it was Senator
Palpatine. From the second movie, they obviously had a relationship. They're friendly, almost like a father-son relationship, I'd say. So the only issue I had with that scene with Count Dooku getting his head cut off was that Anakin did do it to somebody with their hands cut off. It wasn't like it was a straight kill.
Now, granted, about Count Dooku getting his hands chopped off when he was on his knees, Anakin weighed in on his choices whether or not to kill him or bring him in and have him serve trial. I think at that point, he was kind of already teetering to turn on the Jedi and going more towards the dark side because I think that he honestly felt that if he would have made him...
I don't think it was... At that point, I don't think he was thinking about going dark side. I think that he felt... The council's ways.
Yeah, the council's ways.
Right.
But his anger and his anger issues was already teetering into the dark side.
I'll concede to that one for sure.
No, because as a Jedi, you're not allowed to display anger. And he displays a lot of anger all the time. Especially when he doesn't get his way.
Yeah.
So
I feel had he killed Dooku in a fight, it would have been.
That's what I'm saying is that. Well, yeah. I'm gonna put it as more of an anti-hero thing.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
I wasn't gonna give him a hero point for that.
I wasn't gonna give him a villain point either because that I could totally see the Punisher doing that.
Yeah, and what I was gonna say is that him weighing in his choices that if you'd have made him stand trial, the Jedi would have probably put him on trial and put him in jail. And then he would have got out. He would have escaped. Something would have happened, and then or the trial never would have taken place. So he just had to weigh in his choices. He immediately regretted it with really bad acting, but Anakin, the character, for this argument's sake, Anakin felt bad.
Yeah, so I'm going anti-hero.
Yeah, I'm going to get an anti-hero point for that one.
Yeah.
As well.
So the next thing, when Anakin is having these dreams, similar to the ones that he had about his mother. It's of Padme dying and childbirth. So he goes to somebody who he trusts, which is Senator Palpatine, and Senator Palpatine tells him about a Sith Lord that was so powerful that he could stop death itself.
Yep.
Well, while he's at this theater, he's hearing about this, so he gets the seed planted in him that will eventually take him to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
Now, later on in the movie, when he finds out that Palpatine is a Sith Lord, he does. When he finds out, he goes and he tells Mace Windu immediately, and that right there is that's a hero point in my book.
Yeah, he originally wanted to
do the right thing, and he probably thought that Mace was going to take him in. As we go further in the movie, we find out that Mace does get the upper hand in the fight between Dooku.
Yep.
Not Dooku. I'm sorry.
Palpatine.
Yeah. No. As we get further in the movie, we find out that Mace does get the upper hand with Palpatine in Palpatine's office, and around that time is when Anakin rushes over to basically save Palpatine, and
because basically
he sees him as the only way to save
Padme. We see Padme at threat because he's not going to learn that nifty force trick to save life, but at the same time, him executing him is against the Jedi Council.
Yes, which that I believe is the point when Anakin, he was already on he doesn't really trust the Jedi Council because he's seeing all this
hypocrisy.
Exactly, hypocrisy. Thank you for that word. I couldn't find it. He sees the hypocrisy of the Jedi Council, and when he goes and he sees Mace Windu, who's like this, like it goes Yoda, then it goes Mace is right underneath him in like power and stuff. When he sees that, he's got to he sees Mace like, oh, I've got to kill him now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that's not the Jedi way. And Mace's just like, if we can't send him to trial. We can't take that choice. Chance. And I truly believe that when Anakin does the quote unquote evil part of this
conversion of going to the dark side,
he cut off Mace Windu's hand.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't kill Mace.
No.
You could almost argue that he was trying to stop Mace from breaking the rule that of not killing an unarmed opponent. So it was Palpatine who does do the death blow to.
Yeah, lightning shocked him out the window.
Yes, with unlimited power. Yeah. And then it's like, again, this is the shitty acting. Right away, we see Anakin walk over, sit down. What have I done?
Yeah.
2 to 3 seconds later, I'm now your pawn. Down on his knees. Do with me what you will. Just save Padme.
Pretty much, and I think that was his really big turning point of why he really wanted to use the dark side of the Force. Using the dark side of the Force doesn't make you a bad guy. You could literally be a good guy and just want to use the dark side of the Force because it allows you to tap into a different part of your power.
But the issue is, have we ever seen a Sith who is good? That's our only issue. So
no, I mean, there's probably something out there.
Except maybe Darth Vader.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm. I guess we're gonna have to listen to find out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, would you consider what happened in the scene of him cutting off Mace's hand and basically pledging his allegiance to Palpatine as a villainous act, or I don't even know if we can label it as villain, hero, or anti-hero.
Yeah, it's kind of in a gray area. I think it'd be more on the cusp of a villain.
Yeah.
Because he did assist in eliminating one of the most powerful Jedis that there was. And one of the head members of the council. But he did chop off his arm just to disarm him to keep him from breaking their own rules.
Yeah. Do you feel that point that he was ready to kill Windu?
No, I don't think he wanted to kill Windu at the time. I think out of pure
frustration with what was happening.
Maybe not. I wouldn't say frustration. More gut instinct, thinking that if they kill him now, I'm never going to be able to save Padme. And he just, out of gut reaction, just quickly just chopped off his hand, and then was like, "Oh shit, what have I done?" And then that's when.
Well, then I think
Palpatine shot him out the window.
I think it's fair to label this one as a villain. Because
I give it on the cusp of villain. Maybe not like he meant to like really be.
But by the end of this scene, he does say that he will do whatever it takes.
Yeah. Well, by then he feels responsible for the death of a high council member. That's going to be punishable by death. So by then he's already in too deep.
Which brings us to our next point of discussion. Immediately after, he's sent to take care of all of the Jedi.
Order 66 was initiated.
Yeah, which
is one of my favorite orders.
So we go from the tower to Anakin basically walking into the Jedi Council.
Yep.
And we've got a bunch of little Padawans, little younglings, that ask him, because all this crazy stuff with Order 66, which to go in depth onto that, because you don't really understand why they're scared unless we tell you.
Yeah.
It's your favorite order. Why don't you explain?
Order 66 was just basically a kind of like a program, I guess, that was plugged into the clones to turn on the Republic and wipe all the Jedi out and all the people that the new uprising empire was fighting against. And they had no idea that was going to happen. As soon as it initiated, automatically turn around and just start firing away at the Jedi and all the other, even the Wookiees. Basically, it was designed to wipe out just the Jedis in the Jedi Order.
Well, a sucker punch, a real sucker punch.
Yeah, a low blow.
Yeah. So, as the stormtroopers are storming the Jedi Council, the little kid runs up to Anakin and says, "Anakin, Master Anakin, what should we do?"
And then the
lightsaber comes out, and he massacres,
kills them all. You might really say that's a villain act.
Now, I think I saw a tear in his eye before he did it, because
his eyes super red too.
At that point,
it's been a while since I've seen.
I remember seeing a tear coming down his eye, because I don't think anybody, regardless of how evil, has a good easy time killing children.
No, and I think he viewed that as I'd probably put this one real quick in a villain section.
Yeah.
But in his defense, he is now allegiance to a different side. He's no longer on his side that he used to be on, and they're at war.
Does he understand the rule of two? Because couldn't he have thought in his head, why can't we just convert them?
That's also true. Siths only rule in two, and I'm pretty sure he knows the rule of the Sith. They do rule in two. They talk about it even in episode 1, and maybe in episode 3 they talk about the rule of two. But he also sees them as they're now enemies and they're up and coming Jedi, which pose a threat to his cause, his new cause. So it was a necessary evil in his mind, and he is just following orders. Is
he pro Empire at this point, or is he just pro Padme? I think he's just pro Padme.
He's pro Padme, yeah.
And this is where I have a real difficult time, because this would be like if I found out Heidi, who's pregnant right now, I feel she's going to die in childbirth. All right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have to kill, like, the only way for me to save Heidi is to kill everyone close to me. Because the Jedi Council is like Anakin's family. Well, I mean, we all have tough times with our families, but would you really? I couldn't kill everyone I care about. I don't know. Could you, if you were put in that situation? That's really tough, because you still have your kids to live for.
And that's how deep his love was for Padme.
But he still has the kids would have survived. He could have still had the love through Padme.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure, he's a damaged character at this point, so that is why he did it. I'm gonna go.
If he didn't have done it, the Stormtroopers would have done it.
That's true.
Or Clone Troopers, excuse me.
But him doing the finishing blow is what makes me want to put the villain, because this is his family that he's killing in essence. And if he didn't have such strong allegiance to them to begin with, I would not be giving the villain, because in war, women and children die.
That's very true.
But since the circumstances being what they are, I'm giving it a villain.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'll give it a villain as well. Even though I do know why he did it, and in his opinion, he does say it later on that the Jedi are evil, and sometimes even me reading things, I do think that the Jedi, in my opinion, are just as bad as the Sith. I don't like the Jedi at all. I side more on the Sith side, but Jedi, in my opinion, are bad because they are all about manipulation, hypocrisy, and control. If you're a Jedi Council member, it's your way or the highway.
What does Yoda say when Anakin goes up to him and says, "Oh yeah, I've been having these premonitions of someone close to me dying."
Mm-hmm.
He says, "Get over it."
Yeah.
Remorse or sadness.
Yeah. You're not allowed to have emotion.
Emotion. It doesn't add up. And I think any good hero has emotion. I think those without emotion fall under the villain. They're sociopaths.
So they could use. Yeah, that's a good word.
Yep.
So, like I said, I do agree with the younglings, but to me, as a necessary evil, because now he's fighting a different enemy. He's no longer fighting the enemy he used to fighting. He's kind of just done a 180, and now the Jedi are the enemy.
Yeah.
So if there was a bunch of Sith kids, he would have killed all the Sith kids as a Jedi.
Yeah.
So
now, the next part that we're going to talk about will be when they go to Mustafar, and Anakin is killing all the Separatists.
Yep.
To basically give Palpatine
total control over the galaxy, basically.
To Palpatine. And to kind of preset the scene, get the scene all set up, Obi-Wan went to Padme and told Padme everything that Anakin's done. Padme doesn't believe it, won't tell Obi-Wan where Anakin is because she doesn't want him to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
Padme goes to Mustafar,
yeah.
Mustafar, and she gets out of the ship, doesn't know Obi-Wan's on the ship, comes out and says all these, like, Obi-Wan has told me that all these terrible things that you've done, and Anakin says, "Oh yeah, the Jedi are bad. I did what needed to be done." Basically, is what he was saying, and then he said, "Now we can overthrow Palpatine,
yep.
and we can rule the the galaxy together.
Yeah, that's very anti-hero, I think.
I think that's very anti-hero too, because
says that he
would have
bad. He is bad, and who would have said Anakin, once he overthrew Palpatine, would have ruled an evil regime. He could have he could have united everything. All war could have stopped completely, and basically after Order 66 was done, the galaxy was at peace, basically, anyways.
Oh, for sure. So that happens, and then Padme, who's so for democracy, says that this is a path that she can't follow Anakin down anymore. Mm-hmm. And Anakin's really upset because he's like, I've done all this for you, and you're rejecting me. Then he sees Obi-Wan and since I just saw this, I gotta say, the stupidest heroic pose, and I know you guys can't see on the podcast, but I'm showing Joey just standing there the whole time, and I'm just like, nobody would really do that. Anyway, so Obi-Wan comes out heroically, and she's just and Anakin's just so upset because he's like, you've betrayed me, you've brought Obi-Wan here. And the stupidest, even more dumb than anything in the story,
the Force choke on Padme.
On Padme.
Yeah. That was, if he loved somebody that much and wanted to save them, and
that regardless you would kill everyone you cared about,
regardless if he thought that she brought them there, he knows that she doesn't know the whole story and what's going on. Regardless if she did bring them there on purpose, I don't think he would have even actually have force choked her anyways. Even how angry he was or how lost he was, his whole purpose was to be with her. And if he wanted to be with her, that would be the last thing I'm going to do is force choke, my future wife and the mother of my children. Mm-hmm. Even if I thought they brought the enemy with her, because
especially when she's 9 months pregnant.
Yeah.
And he has dreams of her dying in childbirth. Wouldn't that be one of the possible reasons that she'd die, is being mistreated?
Yeah.
Like that? Come on.
I don't know. That's beside the point, but it did happen, so.
It did.
I give that another kind of like a villainous act.
It's a villainous act,
but I want to discredit it because I don't think it's.
I discredit it. I mean, you might notice on the podcast that when me and Joe disagree, he's really good at persuading people. This time, I came to that assumption on my own. I'm 100% serious. I was watching it 2 nights ago, and I was just thinking to myself, why the hell would he choke her? Everything he did was for her. I mean, I guess the case could be made that he did all this for her, and he felt she was rejecting him.
Or maybe a little betrayed a little bit, but
I don't think he would have held it that long.
He hadn't seen her in quite some time, and she doesn't know the whole story, so he should know that she doesn't know the whole story. And I don't know. It frustrates me to see that scene, anyways, that knowing that he had done that. So I kind of just ignore it when I watch it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's almost as bad as the end of that movie when Darth Vader finds out about her being dead.
No! The only thing cool about that scene is everything's being crushed behind him. That's from how powerful his force power is.
Yeah. But for that scene, I mean, you can't not call him a villain for spousal abuse. So that's,
Spousal abuse.
I mean...
No, I don't know.
I if we take out the part where he force chokes her, I feel he is actually a hero, because I agree with you. At first when I started this podcast episode, I was on the side of the Jedi. As I remembered the first and second movie, I hadn't really watched the third movie till we decided to do this episode. After watching it, I couldn't stand the Jedi. So I don't think him dismantling the Jedi was a villainous act.
Actually, him wiping out the Jedi with Order 66 and him wiping out and helping wipe out the Jedi over time, actually, for a long time, there was peace in the galaxy. There was no wars going on after Episode 3, up until now we have Rogue One, of course, but Episode 4 when there's less stuff going on.
I mean, you have to assume that there's rebellions.
Well, there was a rebellion, but the rebellion didn't start till years later.
Yeah.
So,
Anyways, so yeah, I guess we're going to have to label that because of shitty Toy Boy Lucas deciding that. We're going to have to call him a villain right now.
Yeah. But I'm discrediting that part anyways, so
yeah.
I don't count it. That is a villainous act, but I'm nixing it. It never happened.
Oh, I'm erase. It happened, and he is a villain, and rightfully so, because this is the point where he becomes Darth Vader for sure.
Yes.
Now, I guess we can fast forward, what, 20 years? 18 years?
20 years? Yeah, I think I'm almost positive it's roughly around 20 years.
Roughly around 20 years, that'll save us.
So, episode 4.
Set the scene.
Yeah, villainous parts or anti-hero parts in episode 4. Mainly just him, I guess you could say he's a villain because he storms into the counselor's ship in the very beginning and asks for the plans and crushes that guy's throat and throws him against the wall and says he wants the ship torn apart. I guess you could view, if you're first watching that movie and you're seeing Vader for the first time on screen and he comes in, he looks like he's 9 feet tall and picks this guy up and crushes his throat. You're like, holy crap, this is a pretty big bad guy here. But
let's not look at it like that.
No, I know. Because I'm saying the first time viewers.
For sure. For first time,
why he would be a villain.
For first time viewers, for sure.
You have to always remember that
they're at war.
They're at war. They're fighting. He's got a cause, and they have a cause. It's part of what he's doing. He's not really being a villain. He's just doing his job. And
which you could argue to the fact, like earlier, did he have to kill him? Could he have taken prisoners?
He did. The whole ship was taken prisoner. He just crushed that guy's throat to tell the other people, if you know, it's probably going to be you.
Which you could say that is
by intimidation.
Yeah, it's ruled by intimidation, and what's to say that that's not a heroic thing, because the definitions have changed over time. What we view as heroic, others might.
Well, I wouldn't say it was heroic.
Yeah, I'd say it's an anti-hero for sure. I'm just not ready to label that scene as villainous. No. Aside for the fact that that's what Lucas wanted us to film.
Yeah. So the only thing I really think of is that you could think is why he was killing his own people. And I have a great explanation on that, but I don't know if you have anything else. I'll talk about that before I have. How
about how we destroyed Endor, right?
Oh yeah, Endor. Yeah,
no, the Endor problem that is no. So we got Princess Leia being held captive and being said. They ask, "Where's the rebel base?" Princess Leia refuses. They say, "If you do not tell us, we will destroy Endor," which is a non-military planet.
Is it?
Yes, there's no military. They are rebel sympathizers, though. I believe they are rebel sympathizers, and we're gonna blow it up. And she's just like, and Leia's like, you can't do that. They have no army, and since she refuses to answer, they blow up Endor.
She had her chance.
She could
have saved her planet. So
that seems pretty bad, but it's not. I don't think that's Darth Vader's call. That would be the Empire's call.
It was the Empire. Well, I mean, Vader and Sidious kind of run the Empire.
True.
It was Tarkin and Vader. I think they had this thought, we'll threaten her planet. She'll definitely give us the plans. Then we threaten to blow up her planet. And I believe if she would have gave the plans, I don't think Vader would have blown up that planet.
Yeah, because, there is some things to be said for the dark side of the Force. Dark Jedi, Sith, they never lie to you.
Oh, he said, if you tell me the plans, we'll spare your planet. I don't think he would have blown it up. You might argue the fact he probably would have, but we'll never know because she was stubborn.
So here's my thing. When I first saw it at 7 or 8 years old, for sure I saw that as a villainous act. As I've gotten older and I realize the world is a jaded place, I look back at World War II. We told the Japanese in World War II to stand down or we'd use a nuke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it was a good thing that we used the nuke, but I am going to say that us bombing Nagasaki Hiroshima did lead to the end of World War II.
Yep.
So if we're not looking at the sides, we're just looking, could Darth Vader be a hero or anti-hero or a villain? If we deem that his side were the good side, I think we could say he's an anti-hero or a hero even.
Yeah. It's a lesser of two evils again,
Yeah.
They were at war, bad things happen at war. So believe me, I've been in war. So
yeah,
bad things happen.
It sucks. I think I don't. Okay, so for me, I think I'm going to label this anti-hero.
Yeah, because if they would have blown it up, it could have ended. They could have ended everything, and they could have just, everything could have been at peace again.
What does that say about the rebels that after an entire planet was destroyed,
they still refused?
Yep. That says something about the rebels just as much as it says something about the Empire.
And remember, they blew up a Death Star that probably had 1 million lives on it as well, or more.
And what's the problem with that? Those probably aren't all soldiers.
No.
I mean, our military uses civilians to help with stuff. So
yes, they do.
So thanks a lot, Luke. Old Ben.
So what's the next one we have
Other than
here?
that, for episode...
No, we have killing his... Because he did kill some of his...
subordinates. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah, some subordinates.
He killed multiple. I think he killed some subordinates in episode 5, I believe. Right? Remember correctly?
I think he did force choke a couple of them.
Or threaten them. I believe that you might wonder that's pretty bad. He's so evil. He's killing his own generals. I have a nice theory about that. That he's deliberately killing off these highly trained generals and these high officials in the Empire's military to weaken the Empire and to weaken Darth Sidious's role. By killing them off, they get replaced by less experienced leaders, and by then, therefore, you are now weakening that military. So, therefore, you weaken that military, you're weakening the grasp on the galaxy that Palpatine has on everything.
Which, actually, your theory is supported by Anakin's statement in Episode 3 that he wants to rule the Empire, which also he says to Luke later in Episode 5, let's rule the galaxy together as father and son. So I actually believe you.
And who is to say that he was going to rule evilly? He could have been a great dictator.
For sure.
Dictator. But I believe that. So to get at Sidious, he was weakening the military that way to make them easier to defeat later on.
Oh, for sure.
So that would be more anti-hero.
Here's a funny thought. If Luke had gone dark, do you believe that he would have eventually tried to kill his father? Or do you think he would have just had kids and then let his kid, trained his kid after his father died?
That's a hard
thing. Anakin, for sure, I can't see a world where Darth Vader would try to kill his son, being Darth Vader has attachment issues. Mm-hmm. That's his downfall. That's what turned him to the dark side of the Force. And Luke, even if he went evil, he tried to kill his dad later, but that was because he had chosen they had two totally opposing views. And
when they fought in Episode 5?
Yeah, actually, no, he didn't even. No, in Episode 6, he didn't want to kill his father. Remember?
No, he didn't.
He wanted to save his father. Mm-hmm. And also another little snippet. Luke, when he was on Tatooine, said that he wanted to join the Academy to become a fighter pilot
for the Rebellion.
Nope, not for the Rebellion.
No, it was. You're right.
It would have been for the Empire.
Yes, that's right.
So had the droids never come, he might have met his father. Or maybe Palpatine would have found out, oh, wait, this is, through the Force, this is related to Darth. Can't let Darth know this.
Yeah.
To Episode 5, which
we kind of touched bases on him killing his own people.
Now, the only thing villainous that I could think of that he did would be, there's two things that would be Empire Strikes Back, right?
Yes.
Empire. The only two things that I can think that were truly villainous that Vader did was put Han Solo into carbonite.
Yep.
And cut his son's hands off. Yeah. Hand, not hands.
Well, cutting his son's hand off, it was they were in a lightsaber duel, and at that time, Luke didn't know that was his dad. He thinks that man standing before him killed his father, and Vader is simply defending himself.
Oh, for sure.
I know if my son is trying to chop me up with a sword, and I can get the upper hand and disarm him, I might have to chop his hand off too.
Especially since we know that the robotics are so badass that you can just the next day get a robotic hand.
He knew that he'd wake up from it with a new hand anyway. So
a better hand.
Yeah. So, even my son always yells at me, Vader tried to kill him. And I'm just like, well, think about it, Josh. What if you were trying to kill me? I was just defending myself.
Oh, yeah. So. Self-defense. Mm-hmm. Now, I can't even label that scene of him cutting his son's hand off because that's in the heat of battle.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
He didn't kill him.
No, he could have.
Very easily.
And there was the first time he tried to ask him to join.
And here's the other thing. I know, like, if we're looking at Star Wars 1 through 3, you notice that they had quite good lightsaber skills. Something that Luke Skywalker does not have. Meaning Darth Vader could have completely dismantled Luke in a lightsaber.
Was as Vader or as Anakin?
As Vader.
Oh, okay. And
because he still knew how to fight.
Well, yeah, but he was a little clunky because everything was pretty much kind of robotic. And he was actually, when he's originally made, he was actually pretty smooth moving and could move pretty quickly. If you watch the Rebels show, he's pretty movable. And actually through battle and being destroyed several times and getting new limbs actually has slowed him down and lessened his force powers, actually leading into Episode 4. It's why he's kind of clunky and relies more on fighting with the Force than with the lightsaber.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not putting anti-hero, villain, or...
No, that was a heat of the moment kind of thing, self-defense.
And I'm not throwing villain on throwing Han in the carbonite because...
And we only brought these points up just because some people might view that as villainous.
Yeah, but if you're talking about wars, it makes total sense that Han would have even been executed because he is an enemy fighter. So you can't even claim that that's a villainous act, except that we're seeing it from that side. But if we were looking at it from Darth's side,
he doesn't care. He
doesn't. No, it's not killing.
You didn't have to kill him or let him go. He was caught, and Fett wanted him for the fat worm. So for the Hutts.
Yeah. So I'm that one I can't even do. I'm just addressing this because these are possible arguments of what side he'd be on, or be good or bad. And I think once you take out politics, which who's to say the Empire's bad? Who's to say the Rebels are bad? Who's to say they're good? That would be the issue. Now we're gonna jump to Episode 6, which
he's very, very calm. I think mostly for the whole movie.
Yeah, he's just
trying to convince Luke to join him.
Yeah. Does he do anything in that movie that strikes out as inherently bad or inherently good? I know we do have a portion at the very end that we're going to talk about that would decide whether he's good or bad. But leading up to that final leading up to the climax of the movie, does he do anything inherently evil?
No.
Or inherently good?
I don't think so.
All right, so I guess we lead to the climax of Episode 6. Luke Skywalker gets in a fight with Darth Vader.
Yep, and that whole purpose of that fight was try to get Luke so mad and pissed off to kind of push him in the direction of the dark
side, and which he does get angry.
Yes, he does get very angry,
and then he composes himself. But the whole idea is for him to kill the Emperor, which that's another good, interesting question. What did Palpatine want to die? Because had Luke actually striked him down, he would have killed the Emperor.
Yeah. Well, I think not a lot of people know this, but if Emperor Palpatine is so powerful, Darth Sidious, his Force entity can actually go into another vessel, into another body.
Oh, I did not know
so
that.
So he knows that if he gets killed, he can just come back. So technically, even Vader threw him off the edge. He really isn't that dead.
So, anyways, this leads to the Vader's final act, which is Vader killing the Emperor who's about to kill his son. You can say a lot of things. Oh, Vader realized the error of his ways. That's why he threw him off. You can say it's because he wanted to protect his son. You can say it's because he wanted to rule the Empire. Regardless, in my opinion, that was a heroic act.
It was. And sacrificing himself at the same time.
That is true, because at that point, he did jump off. I mean, he fell off. But
he threw him off, and then a lightning damaged his system so bad that he couldn't breathe and he was dying. So he knew by doing that he would sacrifice himself.
So, I mean, anything you want to add to that?
He saved he saved his son. He saved everybody. The rule of Darth Sidious, which had been ruling for, God, I don't even know how many years from episode 1 to episode 6 is, but it's forever.
Yeah.
Of this whole galaxy being at war, and he ended it right there. And the Empire fell, and he basically rebalanced the Force again, and the galaxy.
Which was what his prophecy was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now that we've taken everything into account,
is he an anti-hero?
Is he an anti-hero? Is he a villain? Is he a hero? Let's not just say. Let's say, yeah. We can answer that question. But before that, if we're looking at Star Wars Episode 1 through 6, is Anakin Skywalker the hero of that story?
Yes.
Is he the protagonist?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I do. I believe he was the hero of Star Wars.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that he is the anti-hero of Episode 1 through 6.
Okay. I'm gonna say he's the protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
Because it does. You are watching the beginning of Anakin's life, and it all culminates at the end of Anakin's life.
Mm-hmm.
I feel he's the protagonist. Let's call him the anti-hero.
Yeah, I can vote with him and call him anti-hero. He's done a lot of bad, but all his bad ended up
being good.
Being good.
So the last moments of his life, he's a hero. So
he even got a proper burial.
Yes, he did. Thanks for tuning in and listening. This has been Wes.
And this has been Joe with the World of Wes and Joe. Peace.